John Carter looked out the small window of the transport shuttle as it approached the massive space station. The structure gleamed like a silver wheel against the black of space, with colorful lights running along its edges. This was Nexus Station, home to the most prestigious cafeteria in the Galactic Alliance. And now it would be his workplace. John wiped his sweaty palms on his uniform. He still couldn't believe they had chosen him, a chef from a small restaurant in Portland, to represent humanity in this interstellar kitchen. Earth had only joined the Galactic Alliance 3 years ago, and jobs for humans off-planet were rare. The shuttle docked with a gentle bump. John grabbed his bag, which contained his prized cooking knives and a few spices he couldn't bear to leave behind. The doors hissed open, and he stepped into a world of chaos and wonder. The docking bay bustled with life. Aliens of all shapes and sizes hurried past him. Some had blue skin and 4 arms. Others floated rather than walked. One creature looked like a walking plant with eyes on stalks. John tried not to stare, but it was hard. Despite all the training videos he had watched about alien species, seeing them in person was different. "You must be the human chef," said a voice behind him. John turned to see a tall figure with shimmering quartz-like skin and 6 arms. Each hand held a different tool or device. The alien wore what looked like a chef's uniform, modified to fit its unusual body. "Yes, I'm John Carter," he said, extending his hand before remembering that not all species shook hands. He awkwardly lowered it. "I am Selthrax, head chef of Nexus Station Cafeteria," the crystal being said. 2 of its hands made a complex gesture that John guessed was a greeting. "Follow me. I will show you to your quarters, and then to the kitchen." John followed Selthrax through wide corridors filled with more strange beings. Some aliens moved aside when they saw him, whispering to each other. Others looked at him with what might have been curiosity. "Don't mind them," Selthrax said. "Many have never seen a human before. You are something of a novelty." They passed through a series of security checkpoints. At each one, John had to scan his hand and eye. Finally, they reached a door with his name on it. "These are your living quarters," Selthrax said. "You have 30 minutes to settle in. Then meet me in the cafeteria." With that, the alien glided away. John's room was small but comfortable, with a bed, desk, and small bathroom. A window showed a view of distant stars. He quickly unpacked his few belongings, changed into his chef's uniform, and headed to the cafeteria. The cafeteria was enormous. Food stations lined the walls, each designed for different alien dietary needs. Some bubbled with strange liquids. Others contained what looked like moving rocks or glowing moss. The center held tables of various heights and designs to accommodate different body types. "You're the new human chef." John turned to see a human woman smiling at him. She had red hair pulled into a bun and wore a blue uniform with the Galactic Alliance symbol. "I'm Leela Adams," she said, shaking his hand warmly. "Diplomatic liaison. Thank goodness, they've finally sent another human. I've been the only one here for 8 months." John smiled, relieved to see another person from Earth. "Nice to meet you, Leela. I'm John Carter." "I know," she said with a laugh. "Everyone knows. You're big news around here. The first human chef in a galactic cafeteria. How does it feel?" Before he could answer, Selthrax appeared and spoke in a voice like chiming crystals. "Orientation begins now, human John. Today you observe. Tomorrow you cook." Leela whispered, "Good luck. Find me later. I'll help you navigate this place." She gave him an encouraging smile and walked away. John took a deep breath and followed Selthrax into the kitchen. He had no idea what challenges awaited him, but he was ready to bring the flavors of Earth to the stars, even if the stars weren't ready for them. John's first day of observation in the Galactic Cafeteria was overwhelming. The kitchen operated with incredible efficiency, with Selthrax directing his staff of 20 aliens from different planets. They prepared food for over 30 different species, each with their own dietary needs. Some ate only gases, while others needed metals or crystals in their diet. After watching for hours, John noticed something strange. All the food looked extremely plain. There were no spices, no sauces, and no cooking methods that added flavor. Everything was steamed, boiled, or served raw. The food was nutritious but boring. "Is this really what everyone eats?" John asked Layla when she met him for dinner. They sat at a small table in the corner of the nearly empty cafeteria. The dinner rush had ended, and only a few aliens remained. Leela poked at her gray protein cube. Yes, most alien species have very sensitive taste buds. What we consider mild flavor, they experience as overwhelming. And their digestive systems are easily upset. John looked down at his own tray. His meal was the same as Leela's. A gray protein cube, a bowl of clear broth, and a glass of purified water. "This is awful. I can't cook like this." "You'll get used to it," Leela said, though she didn't sound convinced. The next morning, Selthrax assigned John to prepare the universal protein paste, a basic food that most species could digest. John followed the recipe, which called for blending synthetic proteins with water and vitamins. The result was a gray goop that smelled like nothing. "This needs something," John muttered to himself. When Selthrax moved to another station, John reached into his pocket and pulled out a small container of salt that he had brought from Earth. He sprinkled just a tiny bit into the protein paste and stirred it quickly. The lunch rush began, and John watched as various aliens took portions of his protein paste. Nothing seemed amiss until a large balloon-like alien with green skin approached the counter. The alien was Ambassador Gloop from the methane world of Bublox. He took a large portion of the protein paste. 5 minutes later, chaos erupted. Ambassador Gloop began hiccuping violently. With each hiccup, he expanded slightly until he was bouncing against the ceiling of the cafeteria. Other aliens scattered to avoid him. "What is happening?" Selthrax rushed over, all 6 arms waving in alarm. "I don't know," John said, genuinely confused. He hadn't expected salt to cause such a reaction. "Human John, did you alter the recipe?" Selthrax's crystal skin flashed red with anger. Before John could answer, Leela appeared. "Let me help," she said. She pulled out a small device and scanned the protein paste. "There's sodium chloride in this, earth salt." Selthrax made a sound like breaking glass. Salt is a strong hallucinogen to Bubloxians. It interacts with their methane systems. Security officers managed to catch Ambassador Gloop and administer an antidote. The ambassador deflated back to his normal size, but the damage was done. Selthrax issued John a severe warning. That evening, Leela visited John in his quarters. "You can't just add earth seasonings to alien food," she said. "It could be dangerous." John paced around his small room. "But I can't cook without flavor. It goes against everything I believe in as a chef." Leela sat on the edge of his bed. "Look, I understand. I missed Earth food too when I first arrived. But you need to be careful." John stopped pacing. "Wait, you missed Earth food. Does that mean you have some?" Leela grinned and pulled a small bottle from her pocket. "Hot sauce. I have connections in Cargo Bay 3. They smuggle in Earth items sometimes." John's eyes lit up. "Leela, you're amazing, but I still need to figure out how to cook here without causing diplomatic incidents." "Well," Leela said thoughtfully, "what if we created a database? We could document which species can safely consume which Earth ingredients." John nodded excitedly. "Yes, and I could experiment in my quarters before bringing anything to the main kitchen." Leela looked worried. "It's risky. If Selthrax finds out." "He won't," John said, his determination growing. "I just need to be more careful. Today was a mistake, but I learned from it." As they talked late into the night, John began to feel hopeful. Maybe there was a way to bring the flavors of Earth to the stars after all. He just needed to be smart about it. For 2 weeks, John played by the rules. He prepared bland food according to Xelthrax's recipes and kept his experiments with Earth flavors private. In his quarters at night, he worked with Leela to create a food safety chart. They listed alien species on one side and Earth ingredients on the other, with color codes to show what was safe, what was risky, and what was dangerous. On this particular day, the cafeteria was busier than usual. A diplomatic conference had brought representatives from 50 different worlds to the station. The kitchen staff rushed to keep up with orders. Human John. Xelthrax called across the kitchen. Prepare more protein paste. The Glorbans have requested an extra batch. John hurried to the storage area where ingredients were kept. Large containers lined the walls, all looking nearly identical. He grabbed what he thought was the container of protein base and rushed back to his station. What John didn't realize was that he had taken the wrong container. Instead of the protein base, he had grabbed his personal container of mild hot sauce that he had been hiding in the kitchen. The containers looked similar because John had disguised his hot sauce to avoid questions. Working quickly, John mixed the ingredients. The paste looked slightly more orange than usual, but in the rush, he didn't notice. He filled a large serving tray and sent it out to the main cafeteria. 10 minutes later, strange sounds began coming from the dining area. John looked up from his work to see an extraordinary sight. A group of Glorbans, squat aliens with purple skin, were wiggling in their seats. Their spots, normally dull gray, were flashing in bright rainbow colors. At another table, 3 bird-like aliens suddenly sprouted extra feathers. The feathers popped out of their skin like colorful springs. The aliens looked surprised but not unhappy. Most surprising of all, a group of normally silent rock creatures began to sing. Their voices sounded like gentle wind chimes. What is happening? Xelthrax rushed from the kitchen into the cafeteria. His crystal body flashed with alarm colors. John followed him out, a sick feeling in his stomach. He suddenly realized his mistake with the containers. Leela appeared at his side. John, she whispered, what did you do? I think I accidentally mixed the protein paste with my mild hot sauce, he admitted quietly. Leela's eyes widened. You've been keeping hot sauce in the kitchen. Before John could answer, something unexpected happened. A tall, elegant alien with silver skin approached them. She was Ambassador Vri from the gas planet Arios. Excuse me, Ambassador Vri said in a musical voice. But what was in that protein paste? It was... She paused, searching for the right word. Amazing. John blinked in surprise. Amazing. Yes, for the first time since I arrived at this station, I experienced flavor. Real flavor. My people have taste receptors, but they are rarely stimulated by the food served here. The ambassador's silver skin rippled with what looked like pleasure. Other aliens began approaching. Not all of them were happy. Some complained of strange sensations or minor discomforts, but to John's surprise, many were curious and excited. My colors have never been so bright, exclaimed a spotty alien. The singing. We did not know we could sing, rumbled a rock creature. Xelthrax pulled John aside, his crystal body now pulsing red with anger. Human John, you have violated cafeteria protocols. You have introduced foreign substances into standard recipes. I'm sorry, John said. It was an accident. I grabbed the wrong container. An accident that could cause a diplomatic incident. Ambassador Gloop has filed a formal complaint about your previous salt incident. And now this. Just then, the station's head administrator arrived. She was a tall, blue-skinned alien named Director Zora. She surveyed the chaotic scene with her 4 eyes. What is happening here? She asked Xelthrax. Before Xelthrax could answer, Ambassador Vri stepped forward. Director, this human has introduced us to something wonderful. A new sensation. A cultural exchange. Other aliens voiced their agreement. The room was divided. Some upset, others delighted by the unexpected effects of Earth spices. Director Zara raised her hands for silence. This requires investigation. Human John, you will report to my office immediately. She turned to the crowd. All affected parties will be examined by medical staff. John looked at Leela, who gave him a worried smile. Well, she whispered, at least some of them liked it. John sat nervously in Director Zora's office. The blue-skinned alien studied him with all four of her eyes. The silence stretched on for what felt like hours. Human John, Director Zora finally said, your actions today caused quite a stir. I'm sorry, Director, John said. It was an accident. Perhaps, but this is your second incident involving Earth seasonings. Director Zora picked up a tablet and scrolled through it. The medical team has examined all affected aliens. Most experienced only minor temporary effects. However, the Galactic Alliance takes food safety very seriously. John nodded, expecting the worst. I understand if you want to send me back to Earth. To his surprise, Director Zara set down the tablet and leaned forward. Actually, that's not what I was going to say. Something interesting has happened. We've received requests from 17 different species asking about the human spice, and when it will be served again. John blinked. Really? Yes. It seems many found the experience pleasant. Even those who had physical reactions said it was an interesting cultural exchange. She tapped her long fingers on the desk. However, Ambassador Zorkath of the Regellian Empire has filed a formal complaint. The Regellians are very traditional and see any change to standard recipes as a threat to galactic order. So what happens now? John asked. For now, you may continue your duties, but no more unsupervised experimentation. Director Zara stood up. That will be all. When John left the office, he found Lila waiting for him. How bad was it? She asked as they walked through the station corridors. Not as bad as I expected. John explained what the director had told him. Leela grinned. I told you. Some species have been eating bland food for centuries. They're curious about flavors. 2 days later, John was preparing standard meals in the kitchen when an alien with tentacles for arms approached him. The alien looked around nervously, then slipped John a note before hurrying away. The note read, We want to try more human spices. Meet us in Recreation Room 7 after your shift. What's that? Self, Brax asked, suddenly appearing behind John. John quickly stuffed the note in his pocket. Nothing. Just a shopping list, John lied. After his shift ended, John went to Recreation Room 7. When he entered, he found a small group of aliens waiting. He recognized Ambassador Vree, the rock creatures that had started singing, and several others who had been in the cafeteria during the hot sauce incident. Human John. Ambassador Vree greeted him. We hoped you would come. What's going on? John asked. We want to try more Earth flavors, said one of the rock creatures. The singing was wonderful. John looked around the room. But I could get in trouble. Director Zara said no more experiments. We'll be discreet, promised Ambassador Vree. Think of it as a cultural exchange program. Unofficial, of course. John thought for a moment. This was exactly what he had wanted. A chance to share Earth's cuisine. But he needed to be smart about it. I'll need help, he said finally. We need to keep track of who reacts to what, and we need medical supplies in case of bad reactions. One of the aliens, a small blue being with multiple eyes, raised a tentacle. I am a doctor. I can monitor health effects. And I can get supplies, said another. Leela entered the room, surprising John. And I'll help organize everything, she said with a smile. You didn't think I'd let you do this alone, did you? Over the next few weeks, John ran secret tasting sessions. He started with the mildest flavors, a pinch of cinnamon, a drop of vanilla, a sprinkle of dried basil. The aliens were delighted, and word spread. Soon, more species wanted to join the flavor club, as they called it. John and Leela created a detailed chart documenting reactions. Some species turned colors when they tasted certain spices. Others experienced enhanced senses or emotional responses. The rock creatures developed different songs for different flavors. But not everyone was happy about these secret gatherings. Ambassador Zorkath of the Rigelian Empire had spies everywhere, and he was determined to put an end to what he called the human contamination of galactic cuisine. The Flavor Club grew more popular each day. John was careful, always testing tiny amounts of Earth ingredients on volunteer aliens and recording the results. Most reactions were harmless or even pleasant. The rock creatures, now called the Harmonites, had developed 32 new songs inspired by different spices. One morning, John was approached by a group of green, insect-like aliens with large eyes. They were from the engineering section of the station. "Human John," one of them said, clicking its mandibles. "We hear you have something called coffee." John hesitated. Coffee was on his high-risk list because of its caffeine content. "It's a stimulant from Earth. I'm not sure if it's safe for your species. We are working on critical repairs," the alien explained. "We must stay awake for 3 full cycles, but our energy is fading. Our research shows your coffee might help." John looked at their tired eyes and felt sympathy. He had been working with Leela and the alien doctor to create safety profiles for each species. The engineer's species, the Thrixians, had been cleared for small amounts of caffeine. "I'll bring some to Engineering Room 5 in an hour," John promised, "but just a small amount to start." Later, John arrived at Engineering Room 5 with a carafe of weak coffee. 6 Thrixian engineers waited eagerly. Under the supervision of the alien doctor, each engineer took a small sip. The effect was immediate and unexpected. The Thrixians' eyes began to glow bright blue. They started moving at twice their normal speed, chattering excitedly in their clicking language. One of them disassembled and reassembled a complex device in seconds. "They're experiencing a massive energy boost," the doctor explained, scanning them with a medical device. "Their metabolism is processing the caffeine differently than humans do." John watched nervously. "Is it dangerous?" "Not according to my readings," the doctor said. "Their physiology is adapting well. It's like a controlled burst of energy." The engineers worked at amazing speed. Systems that would have taken days to fix were repaired in hours. The lead engineer approached John, its mandibles quivering with excitement. "Human John, this coffee is incredible. Our productivity has increased by 400%. Word of the coffee miracle spread quickly through the station. The engineering department completed a month's worth of repairs in just 2 days. Even Director Zara was impressed when she received the reports. But not everyone was pleased. Till Thrax confronted John in the kitchen. "Human John, I know about your secret flavor meetings," the crystal being said, its body flashing angry red. "And now you've given stimulants to station personnel." Before John could defend himself, an announcement came over the station's communication system. "Attention all personnel. This is Captain Mary Wells." The captain was the highest authority on the station, above even Director Zora. She rarely made announcements herself. "I'm calling an emergency meeting in the main conference room. All department heads and the human chef, John Carter, must attend immediately." John's heart sank. This was it. He was going to be sent back to Earth in disgrace. When John arrived at the conference room, it was already full. Director Zora was there, along with Cell Thrax and heads of all departments. Ambassador Zorkath of the Rigelian Empire sat at the front, his gray skin wrinkled with displeasure. Captain Wells, a stern-looking woman with short gray hair, sat at the head of the table. Leela stood near the wall, giving John an encouraging smile as he entered. "Human John Carter," Captain Wells began, "I've called this meeting to address your unauthorized food experiments on this station." Ambassador Zorkath stood up, his voice harsh. "This human has violated every food safety protocol. He has caused physical changes in diplomats and altered the behavior of station crew. The Rigelian Empire demands his immediate removal." The engineering chief, a human named Steve Rogers, spoke up. "With all due respect, Ambassador, the coffee John provided to the Thrixian engineers helped us complete critical repairs that ensure the safety of everyone on this station, including Regellian citizens. Captain Wells raised her hand for silence. Before I make my decision, I want to hear from John himself. Mr. Carter, what do you have to say in your defense? John stood up slowly, feeling all eyes in the room on him. His mouth felt dry, but he knew he had to speak from the heart. Captain Wells, I understand that I broke the rules, John began. But I did so with care and caution. Every test was voluntary, and we kept detailed records of all reactions. He pulled out his tablet and placed it on the table. This contains all our data. We never gave anyone anything without first checking if it was safe for their species. We always started with tiny amounts. Ambassador Zorkath scoffed. Safety is not the only issue. The standardized food system ensures equality among all species. Human flavors give unfair advantages and create dependency. Leela stepped forward. If I may speak, Captain. When Captain Wells nodded, Leela continued. What John has discovered is not just about flavor. Earth ingredients affect different species in unique and sometimes beneficial ways. The Harmonites can now sing because of basil. The Thrixians work faster with coffee. The Luminoids glow brighter after tasting lemon. These are temporary effects, Ambassador Zorkath argued. And what about negative reactions? The Babloxian ambassador still hiccups whenever he sees the human. Director Zara cleared her throat. Our medical team has confirmed that no permanent harm has come to any station resident. In fact, station morale has improved by 28% since these flavor experiments began. Captain Wells leaned back in her chair, considering. Mr. Carter, what exactly are you trying to accomplish here? John took a deep breath. Captain, food is more than just fuel for the body. On Earth, food brings people together. It's how we share cultures and build relationships. I believe it can do the same here in space. Ambassador Vries stood up, her silver skin shimmering. Captain, I support the human's perspective. For centuries, galactic cuisine has been reduced to mere nutrition. We have forgotten the joy of taste, the pleasure of new experiences. Earth food reminds us of what we've lost. Several other aliens murmured in agreement. Even some who had not participated in the Flavor Club seemed curious. Ambassador Zorkath slammed his fist on the table. This is absurd. Next, they'll want us to adopt other human customs. Where does it end? With respect, Ambassador, John said calmly, sharing food doesn't mean losing your own culture. It means adding to it. Captain Wells raised her hand for silence. The room grew quiet as she studied John thoughtfully. Mr. Carter, your actions were against protocol, she said finally. However, your intentions were good, and the results have been largely positive. She turned to Director Zara. I propose a formal experiment. Let's see if human cuisine really can be integrated safely into our galactic community. What are you suggesting, Captain? Director Zara asked. A diplomatic dinner, Captain Wells said, with dishes specifically designed for each species present. If Mr. Carter can prove that Earth food can be safely enjoyed by multiple species, we will consider creating a permanent human food section in the cafeteria. Ambassador Zorkath stood up in protest. This is outrageous. I refuse to participate in such an event. Participation is voluntary, Ambassador, Captain Wells said firmly. But I hope you will reconsider. Cultural exchange is a cornerstone of the Galactic Alliance. After the meeting, John felt both relieved and terrified. A diplomatic dinner, he said to Leela as they walked back to the kitchen, with dishes for every species. How am I going to pull that off? Leela squeezed his arm. You won't do it alone. I'll help you. And so will everyone in the Flavor Club. But what if something goes wrong? John worried. This is my last chance. Then we'll make sure nothing goes wrong, Leela said confidently. We have 2 weeks to prepare. We'll test everything multiple times. We have all the data from our experiments. John nodded slowly. We'll need to design a menu that showcases Earth flavors, but respects each species' biology. Exactly, Layla said with a smile. This is what you came here to do, John. Share Earth's food with the galaxy. As they entered the kitchen, John saw Xelthrax waiting for him. The crystal bean's colors were calm, not angry. Human John, Xelthrax said, I will assist you with the diplomatic dinner. You understand flavor. I understand alien biology. Together, we will create something acceptable. John smiled. It wasn't enthusiastic support, but it was a start. Thank you, Xelthrax. I appreciate that. The 2 weeks before the diplomatic dinner passed in a blur of activity. John worked day and night, creating and testing recipes for each of the 23 species that would attend. Lila helped with organization, while Xelthrax provided critical information about alien biology. The Florians need selenium in their food, Xelthrax would say, and John would adjust his recipes accordingly. The medical team, led by the alien doctor who had helped with the flavor club, tested each dish multiple times. They used synthetic stomachs to simulate how different species would digest the food. 3 days before the dinner, an unexpected visitor arrived at the kitchen. It was Dr. Alan Foster, the head of the station's science department. He was a tall human with glasses and a thoughtful expression. Chef Carter, Dr. Foster said, I've been following your work with great interest. John looked up from the dough he was kneading. The recipe included a small amount of cinnamon, which gave the Harmonites a pleasant tingling sensation that enhanced their singing. You have? John asked, surprised. Indeed, Dr. Foster said. My team has been analyzing the samples you provided to the medical unit. We've discovered something remarkable. Dr. Foster pulled out a tablet and showed John a series of complex diagrams. These compounds in Earth spices interact with alien biology in ways we never imagined possible. Capsaicin, for example, enhances the telepathic abilities of the Mentary species. John stopped kneading. Wait, we have telepathic aliens on the station. A few, Dr. Foster said with a nod. They're very private about their abilities. But when one of them tried your chili sauce, they reported being able to send thoughts over much greater distances than usual. Is that good? John asked cautiously. It's fascinating, Dr. Foster replied, and potentially very valuable. There are medical applications, engineering possibilities, even improvements to faster-than-light communication. The day of the diplomatic dinner arrived. The main conference room had been transformed into an elegant dining space. Tables were arranged according to the physical needs of each species. Some aliens needed to stand, others to float in liquid tanks. Special lighting created comfortable environments for every guest. John's kitchen team had prepared 23 different menus. Each dish contained at least one Earth ingredient, carefully selected for its safe interaction with that species' biology. John had written detailed cards explaining each dish and its ingredients. Captain Wells opened the dinner with a short speech about cultural exchange and cooperation. Then the food was served. John watched nervously from the kitchen doorway as the aliens tasted his creations. The Harmonites were the first to react. After tasting their cinnamon bread, they began to sing in perfect harmony. The melody was so beautiful that conversations stopped as everyone listened. The luminoids, who had eaten a lemon-infused dish, began to glow with soft colors that shifted and danced. The light they produced cast gentle patterns across the walls. Ambassador Vrie's silver skin rippled with pleasure as she tasted a vanilla custard specially made for her species. Remarkable, she said. It brings back memories of my childhood on Arios, though I never tasted anything like this there. Even the reluctant ambassador Zorkaf could not hide his interest when his dish was served. John had created a simple rice dish with just a touch of cardamom, which interacted safely with Rigelian biology. The ambassador took a small bite, then another, his wrinkled face showing surprise. Dr. Foster moved around the room with sensors, recording the various reactions. Captain, he said excitedly to Captain Wells, We're seeing neural responses unlike anything in our database. These food interactions could lead to major scientific breakthroughs." Captain Wells nodded, watching as the dinner continued successfully. No one was having negative reactions. Instead, the room was filled with sounds of enjoyment, interesting new colors, and lively conversation. John felt Leela's hand slip into his. "You did it," she whispered. "You brought Earth food to the galaxy." "We did it," John corrected her with a smile. "I couldn't have done this alone." As they watched the dinner unfold, neither of them noticed Dr. Foster pulling Captain Wells aside, his face serious as he showed her something on his tablet. The captain's expression changed from pleasure to concern as she studied the data. The diplomatic dinner ended with overwhelming approval. Most of the aliens had positive experiences with John's carefully crafted dishes. As the guests left, many stopped to thank John personally. The next morning, John was called to Captain Wells's office. When he arrived, he found not only the captain but also Director Zora, Dr. Foster, and Ambassador Zorkath waiting for him. "Please sit down, Mr. Carter," Captain Wells said. Her tone was serious, and John felt a knot form in his stomach. Had something gone wrong after all? "First, I want to congratulate you on the success of the dinner," Captain Wells began. "No negative health effects were reported, and the feedback has been very positive." John relaxed slightly. "Thank you, Captain. However," she continued, "Dr. Foster has brought something important to my attention." She nodded to the scientist. Dr. Foster adjusted his glasses and cleared his throat. "Chef Carter, the effects of Earth ingredients on alien biology are more significant than we first thought. The data shows that some compounds in your food don't just create temporary reactions. They might lead to permanent changes with repeated exposure." "What kind of changes?" John asked, worried again. "Nothing harmful," Dr. Foster assured him. "But for example, the harmonites who have been regularly consuming cinnamon are developing new vocal abilities. Their song structures are becoming more complex, which hasn't happened in their species for thousands of years." Director Zora added, "And the Thrixians who had coffee have developed new problem-solving abilities. They're inventing new engineering solutions at an incredible rate." "Is that bad?" John asked, confused by their serious faces. "It's not bad," Captain Wells said, "but it's not something to take lightly either. Human food isn't just food. It's a catalyst for change." Ambassador Zorkath spoke up, his voice surprisingly calm. "Even I must admit that your cardamom rice was acceptable. But my people fear change. Chef Carter, we believe in stability and tradition." Captain Wells stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. The Galactic Alliance was formed to promote peace and understanding between different worlds. Part of that mission is cultural exchange. She turned back to face them. "I've made my decision. We will establish a permanent human food section in the cafeteria." John's face broke into a smile, but Captain Wells raised her hand. "With strict protocols. Every dish must be labeled with possible effects. Species will need to sign waivers before trying new items, and all reactions will be monitored by the science and medical teams." "I understand," John said, nodding eagerly. "There's more," Captain Wells said. "Dr. Foster has requested permission to establish a research division focused on the properties of Earth cuisine. The Galactic Science Council has expressed great interest." "They have?" John was surprised. Dr. Foster smiled. "Indeed. If human food can enhance telepathic abilities or improve engineering skills, imagine what other applications we might discover. This could lead to breakthroughs in medicine, communication, even space travel." "And you, Mr. Carter," Captain Wells continued, "are being promoted to interspecies culinary ambassador. You'll work with both the cafeteria and the research division." John was speechless. This was far more than he had hoped for. 6 months later, the cafeteria looked very different. A large section had been walled off with clear barriers and labeled Human Food Section. Enter at your own risk. Inside, John and a team of human chefs prepared Earth dishes for curious aliens. Each food item came with detailed information about its effects on different species. The section was always busy. Aliens from across the galaxy came to the station specifically to try human cuisine. Some even requested special dishes that would create specific effects. Glowing skin for a celebration, enhanced singing for a performance, or improved focus for a difficult task. Leela, now John's wife, managed the growing cultural exchange program. "Who would have thought that your hot sauce mistake would lead to all this?" she said one day as they watched a group of tentacled diplomats experience ice cream for the first time. John laughed. Food brings people together, even when those people have tentacles or rock bodies. Across the cafeteria, Ambassador Zorkath sat alone, secretly enjoying a large slice of apple pie. He had become one of John's regular customers, though he still insisted it was only for research purposes. "I never expected to change the galaxy with a spice rack," John said, putting his arm around Leela. "But I'm glad I did." On Earth, a message arrived from the Galactic Alliance officially classifying the planet as a Class 5 culinary hazard zone, the highest honor for a food-producing world. Humans had finally found their place in the galactic community, not through military might or advanced technology, but through the simple joy of sharing a good meal.